Hey everyone, Ryan here, we're MandRproductions, and I got a fun one for you today. It's the comparison of all three LEGO Star Wars General Grievous Starfighters that we've gotten from LEGO over the years. We're going to be using the MandRproductions comparison system, so of course we'll go through minifigs, playability, design, value, and my opinion, including the fan vote, which I ran as a community poll on my channel. Some general info on each set, starting with 7656 from 2007, based on episode 3. It retailed for $20 in the United States and adjusted for inflation in 2020 money, that's $25. It included 232 pieces and the one minifig with General Grievous there. Our next set here is set number 8095 from the summer of 2010. A great summer at that, I will say. Some wonderful sets came out that year. That's besides the point. This set was actually based off Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 10, Lair of Grievous. Pretty good episode. That's what the extra figures and the medical area is kind of based on. The set retailed for $50, adjusted for inflation, you're looking at $60. It had 454 pieces with the 3 minifigs in front of you. If you count the medical droid as a minifig, I don't know, it can get kind of iffy there, but basically 3 figures there. And perhaps the most controversial set of the 3 from summer 2020, we have set number 75286, also based on Star Wars Episode 3, although in a sense of the figures, much less accurately so than the version from 2007. It retails for $80, no adjustment for inflation as I'm filming this during its release year. It has 487 pieces, making it the highest piece count of any Grievous Starfighter, and 3 minifigs with Grievous and Airborne Trooper and Obi-Wan. When it comes to the Grievous figures, LEGO has offered 3 pretty distinct looks. Starting out with 2007 on the left, they had a very rudimentary figure. They used regular battle droid arms and legs with very minimal posability with them. The legs definitely didn't have the same posability that you see on the modern day Grievous figures, but they could move back and forth a little bit. The arms, of course, in and out, but that was really it. The head moved like a regular LEGO head and actually stuck on that piece more or less like a regular LEGO head, although that neck piece is kind of shorter than the regular LEGO heads. So it was very interesting and different than what we would end up getting in 2010 with a completely redone Grievous, and they actually put him in the tan color, which was kind of interesting as well. I think that that was something that they did because of what he looked like more in the Clone Wars than obviously what they've done with the white in the Episode 3 versions, but he looks decent, although I think his eyes look a little bit funky, especially when you compare it to the newer version that we ended up getting in 2020 there on the right. My biggest qualm with the newer Grievous is that the colors on him just don't match. Like, the tan Grievous has everything matching, right? The tan, just for whatever reason, that is like the molded tan and the actual colored tan of the print, it looks the same. But if you look at the white on the newer Grievous, the print on the arms looks different than the molded white of the plastic. So I don't love the color disparity on the newer Grievous, although I do prefer the white, but I think that the tan has a more altogether look. I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up there, but those are the 3 Grievous figures you get between the sets. 2007, as mentioned earlier, did not have any other figures, but both 2010 and 2020 did have more figures. 2010 offered Nadar Veb, who Grievous fights in the episode, and it also had the A4D medical droid there, which is a really interesting build with so many pieces actually for what basically is a battle droid just kind of souped up. And then in 2020, we got the Airborne Trooper along with a completely inaccurate Obi-Wan. It was kind of cool though. The Airborne Trooper had the newer clone head, which I think may draw some people in for the newer set. And to me, it's a bit of a toss-up here with the minifigs. It may come down to personal preference, but to me, I still find the incorrect use of the Obi-Wan torso to be completely unforgivable, and for that reason, my minifigure selections will go as this. I think that by a slight margin, 2010 had the best minifigs, so it's going to get the most points. 2020 with the second best minifigs, and unfortunately 2007 with an outdated Grievous that just doesn't look very good by today's standards, and no other figures, going to be the worst minifigures. Playability in the 2007 model is honestly pretty limited. You have these blasters on the front, which can actually swing back and fire behind it, which I guess could be touted as a play feature, although probably an unintended one. It was just kind of the lack of the ability to connect it to the main body of the ship, and such they had to make it in a way that it was movable, but still works fine if you're like displaying it. But play-wise, that could be a neat little play feature, basically, where you can kind of angle the weapons. Not bad. You also have the fin in the back here, which which can move up and down a little bit. I guess that could definitely be considered a little bit of play there. Swooshability is pretty much a 10 out of a 10. It's a pretty solid model that's going to be holding on no matter where you hold it. The bottom of the set doesn't have any bomb or missile firing feature like the other two models, but it does have a nice place where you can hold your lightsabers on a clip like that. You can actually pull that off, place it down, and have Grievous's lightsabers kind of sitting around outside the ship, or when you do want to store them in a nice way, they do fit right up underneath the ship like that and clip right into place. Don't know if that's really a play feature, but still, that's definitely a feature there. Perhaps the best feature on this set, though, is for the cockpit here. You can slide this whole mechanism here and it opens right up. Now this can actually pop right off pretty easily, unfortunately, but it, you know, it's up to you whether or not you think that's good or bad, I guess. But basically it's supposed to stop here, but there's also nothing stopping it from popping right off, so that's kind of the point of that. There's a very small and not detailed area for Grievous to sit within here, and you can get him down in here. You really got to curve his arms in. Like, there's just not a lot of space there. There really isn't a lot of space in the other models either, but this one especially feels cramped. You definitely couldn't fit the modern figures in this one, and I think that may be a reason the newer ones are scaled up, but that's pretty much all you have for features on this older set. The best thing it has going for it really is swooshability, and then these things moving up and down. That's really it. 2007 didn't have a lot in the way of play, but again, at 20 bucks, it didn't really need to. 2010 offered quite a bit more, especially because it had this whole thing here with the Grievous little medical area where you had the medical droid and then his lightsabers and blaster being held here off to the side. You could have the medical droid work on Grievous here, and that was great. You also had Nadar Veb in the set, so you could have kids, especially because this is playability, have Nadar Veb and Grievous fight, and that's definitely something that you couldn't do in 2007, so having the ability to have figures fight, I think, is a great thing in this set. But having gotten that out of the way, the Grievous Starfighter is also a huge step up with playability. Hidden inside the side here, we have a couple of flick fire missiles, and that's actually going to be on both sides, which is pretty great. I think that's a wonderful thing to have hidden away in there. 2020 will also have something hidden away in here, which we'll get to when we get to, but these are pretty cool. Flick fire missiles, you've probably seen them. You flick them, they fire, and they're pretty neat. Very 2010 feature there, but yeah, flick fire missiles hidden away. You had the cannons on the front here, or the blasters, and they can move up and down kind of like you could in 2007. Underneath the set, you did have a missile or bomb that you could drop out of the bottom, so that was something, again, that 2007 didn't have. Very superior as far as play goes there. And then you had the fin on the back, which could move up and down slightly, which is great. Again, just like 2010, you could also have it land in the proper way, I suppose, like that. But looking to the cockpit here, you could open this up much better than the 2007 version. You had some detail in there, as well as a space for Grievous to fit in. So getting him in here should be a little bit easier if you take off his third and fourth arms, because those will definitely just get in the way. But he fits in there rather nicely, rather spacious compared to 2007. And you close that right up, and he's good to go there with the Grievous Starfighter. And that's pretty much all the play features for 2010. Packing a lot of stuff there, I think, for a $50 set. Moving into 2020 here, you can get that imaginative play that we saw in 2010. You have an Airborne Trooper and you have an Obi-Wan Kenobi minifigure, and they can both fight Grievous. So that's really great for kids, especially that are going to want to fight the figures, and that's definitely something you can do with this set. It doesn't have that extra little side build like 2010, but I think it's still fine. The set on top has some stud shooters, which are very nicely placed on there. I think they look fine, and they're a great feature for kids to fire away at whatever starship or vehicle you want them to. For the side panels of the set, it's actually a little bit different than the 2020 model. Instead of just kind of folding down, they actually slide back, which is a really clean look, but you can place Grievous's lightsabers in here for storage. This is somewhat a design thing and somewhat a play thing, I suppose, but it's a real nice feature to have on both sides here. I will say, ultimately, when you're looking at it strictly as a play feature thing, I think that this is a step down for play features, because I think that having flick fire missiles on the side is better than just being able to put lightsabers in. Although I prefer this, like, just personal preference, I think that the play feature on 2010 was better on the side here. There is a very cool little mechanism on the bottom here for your spring-loaded shooter. You push in on this, and there it goes. So I like that better than the bomb-dropping feature and the non-feature in 2007. Ultimately, this one's going to trump those as far as like the bottom of the set goes. And then as far as the cockpit goes, it's kind of more the same that you saw in 2010. It slides right open, and you can place Grievous in there. They did a great job making it slightly more spacious, so we can slide him down into there and close that up, and you are good to go. So those are all 3 sets playability features. I think that ultimately 2010 definitely has the best playability, especially because it has the medical droid in chair. I think that that definitely trumps anything any of the other sets offer with that imaginative play, and it's going to be getting 3 points. 2020 following up very closely with 2 points, and getting a measly 1 point, 2007. For design and displayability, I think it's pretty obvious which one is the best here, and that's going to be 2020. I'm going to get that right out of the way, out of the bat here. It just has such a clean look and does a great job of mixing the studs with no studded look. 2010 does a pretty poor job of that. Just so many studs showing on the outside. I feel like it's just a little bit too much. 2020 really cleaned that up. 2007 also has a pretty good mix of studs to tiled look. Again, that 2010 look, maybe that's a look for you. It's got a bit more of a rugged look, but it really doesn't fit my personal preference here with the Grievous Starfighter. The backsides on all of these also look pretty substantially different going from model to model. 2007 completely omits any sign of engines or thrust. 2010 and 2020 definitely bring it back, though. 2010 with even more than you see on 2020, but in 2020's case, they made it look a lot more streamlined and got rid of those. So I think that it was very worth it for the look of 2020 to not have that little detail there. I'm not sure which is more accurate, but I know that 2020 definitely looks better in that regard. The other thing that 2020 can do design-wise is drop down and land more or less properly versus 2007, which definitely cannot do that, and 2010, which kind of can replicate that, but still not quite to the degree and the proper look that 2020 kind of provides as far as that goes. I think the design of the cockpit is also pretty important. The newer models have nice printed pieces, and they only open as far as you would want them to open and can't really pop off unless you actually break the model. The 2007 models I showed earlier really struggles with this, so unfortunately it really doesn't hit the mark in a lot of places. Ultimately, I think I've got to go with 2020 as the best here. As much as I really want to give the nostalgia points to 2007, I think it'd be hard to argue that it actually is better than 2010, so it's going to be a 3, 2, and 1 count there. As far as value for each set, at least upon the time of their release, is what we're really comparing. Obviously, things are going to be more expensive to buy them nowadays if they're older versus just buying the newer one outright, so you do have to take that into account. But just looking at the apples-to-apples comparison of how much LEGO was charging when they were released, if you adjust for inflation, you're looking at $25, $60, and $80 respectively. I think that the best value ultimately has to go to the $25 version. It's so cheap. It's close to the same size. Obviously, it doesn't come close to the piece count with about half the pieces, but it's somehow rather close to the size of these other models. Like, it's not substantially smaller like you would expect for a set that costs a half or a third the price of these other sets. It's actually pretty crazy how big that one is for the price. So the 2007 model absolutely has to be the best value just for how cheap it is. 2010 coming in at $50 upon its release, $60 adjusted for inflation, is also a pretty decent value there. 2020 though is where you're really not getting any bang for your buck with inaccurate figures, a figure that nobody really wanted and wanted something else, and it's a great looking model. It just doesn't provide value for your money in the same way that 2010 did. Inflation adjusted, 2010 was $20 less than 2020, and I don't see a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they're using different pieces, but like, they're basically the same size model, and I'm not seeing a difference for an extra $20 there in 2020, and that's why I think a lot of people find it to be one of the most overpriced sets of all time, perhaps. And so the scoring should come as no surprise, with 2007 getting 3 points, 2010 receiving 2 points, and 2020 receiving 1 point. Let's take a look at the M&R and fan opinions, which may decide it all here. And here in the opinion category, I received over 20,000 votes from you guys as to which General Grievous Starfighter you personally thought was the best. And I was genuinely surprised by the results of the poll, but I also may come to the same conclusion to myself here. I'm not sure. So first we're going to go through with what you guys had to say. 6% of you said you thought 2007 was the best, and that made me feel bad because I really like that set. I have a lot of nostalgia for it, but fair enough. The other models are just objectively better, but damn, you didn't have to do 2007 like that. 6% of the vote. 32% of the vote went to the 2010 model. So a substantial bit there, but still obviously not going to be enough to take home the crown for 2010 here, because 2020 received 63% of the vote on the YouTube poll. Pretty insane to me that a set so overpriced with such an obviously inaccurate minifigure could get so many people to say, hey, this is still the best one. That's pretty crazy. I think ultimately it is the best one, but goddammit, I don't want to say it. It's overpriced. It's got the wrong figures that it should have. But I still think that it's unfair to not say that it's not the best one. So I think 2020 is going to get the opinion vote from me, and it also has the opinion vote from you, the viewers, although obviously still about 40% of you think one of these two is the best. But still, like, I was very surprised by that. So it's going to get 3 points from both you and I. This one's going to get 2 points from you. But if you locked me in a room and I had to pick one of these two as to which one I would pick over the other, just pure opinion, nostalgia, and everything in there, I'm taking 2007 as the one that I would rather have. So for me, it's going to be 3, 2, and 1. Let's take a look at the final scores. And with all the scores in, receiving 9 points in third place, the 2007 set. A respectable score, but still nowhere near enough to take home a dub. In second place with 13 points, 2010's model. And in first place, the best model objectively, according to our little comparison chart here, the 2020 model. And let me show you guys what everything's scored here for minifigures, playability, design, value, and opinion. You can see everything tallied up, and then the values of everything down below. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised by the results of this, honestly. The 2020 set is really overpriced, and it's got two figures that people are really upset over. At least I'm really upset over, and I've seen a lot of comments of people upset over. But I've also seen a lot of people being like, oh, it doesn't matter, I don't care. And it's like, well, if you're just allowing LEGO to do things that are obviously wrong, then at that point, who cares? I mean, I guess anything goes, huh? So if you're of that mindset, I mean, I guess this set is just perfect for you. But to me, it's got a lot of imperfections that really suck. But when it comes down to it, is it the best set they've made? Yes, but it's overpriced. 2010, not bad either. Just, you can see the age of the model when you look at it front on. You can see how little detail there is, all the studs showing on top, like just how straight that line is, versus in 2020, they came in, they really cleaned it up, made everything look better with all the tiling and everything. So they've done a lot with these models over the years, and they're all substantially different in their own way. And I really love the gold that they used versus the tan that they use. Like, there's a lot of things like that that they've changed over the years that have helped these models look better and better. Let me know what you guys thought of this comparison video with a comment down below. If you would have picked differently, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, like is greatly appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my future LEGO Star Wars and LEGO videos in general. I have a ton of other LEGO Star Wars set comparison videos, so you can check those out on the end screen now. Thanks for watching. Peace out.